Welcome to our SST class. So if you remember, yesterday we have discussed with the book work of Geography chapter number 2. We have finished the book work. So now today we are going to start a new chapter. But before I start a new chapter, I have told you that we are going to start chapter number 2 from your civics, that is diversity and discrimination. But let me tell you that we are not going to do that chapter since we have deleted that chapter from your syllabus. So please take note that chapter number 2 of civics is not there in your syllabus. So we are directly going to start a new chapter, but we are going to take up first civics only because we have already covered 4 chapters in the history, 2 in the geography, and we have covered only 1 chapter in your civics. So let me cover few more chapters from civics so that we come in equal pace with the other part. So let me ask you some questions before I start my topic. Just tell me, who does the job of constructing schools, hospitals or bridges in your country? Can anyone tell me who is responsible for that? Who does this work? Who make laws? Who tells us that we have to start a war? Who takes this decision if we are facing any problem from the neighboring countries? Who takes this decision whether we are too ready for the war? Can you tell me? Have you ever wondered who has all the powers regarding these decisions? Who maintains the law and order of the country? Otherwise there will be all chaos all around in our country. So there is a very strong, powerful body behind it, those who decides what laws should be there for the efficient running of the country. And what is that body called? Yes, that body is called government. What it is called? Government. So we are going to start with your third chapter of civics. And what is the name of that chapter? It is types of government in your book. So we are dealing with the types of government. But before we go to the types of government, it is very essential to know what is government actually and who makes this government. So let me tell you, government is nothing but it is a body, or you can say a group of people who has the authority to rule, to make rules, or you can say to make rules and policies for the efficient running of our country. So a government is nothing but it is a body which consists of some people who are elected by people ourselves only, and who makes the laws and policies that are very essential for the smooth functioning of our country. India is a big country. We have so many states. We have 28 states and 9 union territories. And just think over the area. So it is very difficult to just manage all the internal and external affairs. So there should be one strong body to manage all these affairs, and that body is known as government. So if we talk of the government, we will say it is a body that makes rules and policies for the efficient running or functioning of our country. So this is what is your government. So this is the meaning of government. So first we'll deal with the meaning of government, then we'll discuss the functions of government. So if you remember, I started my introduction with the functions of the government. I asked you, who will make laws related to war? Who does the work of constructing bridges, roads, railway lines? So all these things are managed by the government. These are the functions of the government. Now you see, have you heard about this situation of the war that was to be held between India and China? So it was a very critical situation, and our government, it was a government only who has come forward, the people, the representatives, the parliament, the Prime Minister, our Narendra Modi ji, who has just stood by the country, and he has made such a policy, such a rule that China has to quit back and we are again safe. But since it is a very crucial matter, so it is the work of the government, but it comes under various categories, whether it is to be decided by the central government or the state government or the local government. So these are the various levels of functioning, or you can say levels of government. So we'll be discussing about the legislative body, we'll be discussing about the executive, we'll be discussing about the judiciary. So these are the three, you can say, organs of government. If I say these are the basically organs of government. So it works under three levels, that is legislative, executive and judiciary. This is the law making body, actually implementing the laws, and this decides the cases, that is the Supreme Court and the High Court. The cases are filed in the judiciary. So we will be discussing about the three organs of the government in detail. We will be dealing with the functions, meaning of the government. Now functions we have already discussed, it can be at various levels at the state. Now organs are done, then comes the levels of government. So it is divided into three levels. Number one, we have national level. Since it is a very big country, then you have state level, and the third one is your local level, the local self-governments, as we have in villages at a smaller level. State level, we have the state government, every state had its own government and it can decide. Now see, if it is a situation of COVID-19, you might have observed that the central government just left the decision on the heads of the state government that you decide for your state whether there should be a complete lockdown, and if it is a lockdown, then of how many days. So this entirely depends upon the situation in different states. So here the role of state government becomes very, very important, and this state government, every state government provides its report to the central government, which works at the higher level. So this way it functions at different levels, because it is not a job of one body or few people to manage the affairs of such a big country which has a population in crores, 130 crores, if you imagine. So these are the three levels of government. Then functions we are going to discuss, then the organs of the government, and then the types of government. So types of government, it is of three types. Number one, if we talk of the previous period, it was, what type of government was there? Monarchical form of government. And what is a monarchical form of government? It is a form of government in which the power is in hands of king. So who is the ruler there? King or the queen, even we can say. So the power is in the hand of the king or queen, and if it is a death of the king or a queen, then the power is ultimately transferred to the hands of the son of this particular king and queen. And so this type of government is known as monarchical form of government. Then there was also dictatorial. Dictatorship, if you have heard the word of dictatorship. Have you heard the word? Can you give me one example of dictatorial form of government? Dictatorship. Who was the dictator? The most famous dictator, if you remember his name. Yes, I am talking of Hitler of Germany, if you have heard. So there we had in Germany dictatorial form of government in which the power was in the hand of one strong person. He was the sole decider of all the policies related to his country. Then comes the democratic form of government, what we call democracy, in which the ultimate power lies in the hands of the people. So in India we have a representative democratic form of government. We will be discussing the democratic form. Another two types of democracy is there: direct democracy, indirect democracy. So we will be discussing all these things, and we will be discussing presidential form of government and parliamentary form of government. In India, can you tell me which form of government we have? Yes, we have parliamentary form of government. We have the Rajya Sabha, the Lok Sabha. So the members of the parliament, they make rules and laws for us, and they are the representatives that have been elected by people only. So democratic form of government is the government which is of the people, by the people and for the people. हमारे लिए है, हमारे द्वारा ही बनाई गई है. So it is for the people, हमारे लिए है, by the people, हमारे द्वारा ही बनाई गई है, and of the people, और किसके लिए है? लोगों के लिए है, लोगों के द्वारा बनाई गई है. हमने ही इसके जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं वो इलेक्ट किए हैं. So this is the definition that has been given by Abraham Lincoln, a very important definition. It is a government of the people, by the people and for the people. So we will be discussing the direct democracy, indirect democracy in detail. So these are the things that we will be covering in our third chapter related to the government. Apart from that, we will be discussing one term, very important term. It is universal adult franchise. Now, what does it mean? Universal adult franchise means that all citizens of India who are 18 years of age or above 18 years of age, they have ultimate power to vote. They have the right to vote, and through vote they can elect their representatives. They decide which leader they think will be the most capable to work for his duties, to work for his rights. So we are there to decide whom should we give the power to. So this is just because of this policy of universal adult franchise. It gives us the right to vote if we are 18 years or above 18 years. So we will be discussing about this universal franchise. So few things are there to be discussed. So we'll start with this, and before we start, I just want you to go through these concepts from your book. So just read whatever we have discussed right now for better understanding of the concept. So are you all ready? So let's start.
Yes, I have travelled across space to check on the progress of your species.
Cool. Shall I take you to our leader?
Your what?
Our leader, the guy in charge.
The guy in charge of what?
Well, in charge of everything.
You have one guy in charge of everything?
No, he's in charge of government.
What is government?
Well, government makes the rules for us. It tells us what we can do and what we can't do.
So is government really smart? They come up with wise rules for you to follow?
Well, mostly. But some of its rules are really stupid.
Do you disregard those rules?
No, we have to follow the rules, even if they are stupid or we disagree with them. Government punishes anyone who disobeys the rules.
So you are slaves to government?
No, it's not like that at all. Government works for us, the people. It serves us. We're the boss.
It tells you what to do, and it punishes you with violence if you disobey it, and yet you're its boss?
Yeah.
But there are some things government does that you don't like.
Well, yeah, not everything government does is popular. Like spending on wars, for example.
What is a war?
It's when government basically spends the people's money on weapons and soldiers and then sends them over to the other side of the world to kill a bunch of people over there and destroy their country. I don't like it that government does this.
Well, I can see why you might not like that. Have you humans reached the stage where you generally consider stealing, enslaving, and killing each other to be Bad things?
Oh yeah, we know that. Don't steal, don't attack, don't assault.
But you give money to government and they use it to kill people.
Well, yeah. But government does good things with tax money as well.
Why don't you stop paying for the things you don't like and only pay for the good things it does?
No, we can't do that. You can't just decide to stop paying taxes because the rules say that everyone has to pay taxes.
But the rules come from government though, don't they?
Yeah.
So government made a rule which says that everyone has to pay them money. So everyone pays taxes because if they didn't, government would punish them using violence?
Well, yes, but most people don't mind paying taxes. Most people feel obligated to pay taxes and obey government laws because it's for the good of society. Society needs government, and that means we all have to pay taxes.
So just to make sure I've got this straight, government makes the rules and you feel obligated to follow the rules, even the ones you don't like, and it tells you what to do and threatens to punish you if you don't do what it says, and it uses some of the money that it's taken from you using threats of violence to pay for things you don't like and actually think are immoral, like mass murder.
Yeah, but we can ask it to please tell us to do smart things, and please don't take our money and use it to kill people. We're allowed to ask them to tell us to do what we want them to tell us to do.
Are you guys just scared of this thing? Is government some huge monster that can just squish you at any moment if you disobey?
No, government isn't a monster.
Well, what is it then? Could you draw me a picture of it?
Government isn't really the sort of thing you can draw a picture of.
Maybe you could take me to it. Where is government?
You mean the building?
Government is a building.
No, but the politicians who make up the government have buildings they work from.
So government is a group of these politicians.
Yeah.
Okay, so what species are these politicians?
Well, they're human.
Like you?
Yeah.
So politicians are humans and they're government. You're a human, but you're not government.
No.
So it's the politicians, they're the ones that boss the rest of you around and make you do things you don't want to do and take your money using threats of violence. But even though you're all humans, you're not allowed to boss them around and take their money?
No, they'd put us in a cage if we did that. But look, it's not like the politicians can just do whatever they want. Like, a politician can't just come up to me on the street and make me give him money. They can't do that. Politicians can only do things like that in their job, when they're working for government.
Oh, so politicians aren't government, they just work for government.
Yeah.
Okay, so government isn't a monster, and it isn't a building, and it's not politicians, it's something else. And it employs politicians, who are just regular humans, who get to order everyone else around and take their money. How does a regular human become a politician?
Well, that's the great thing about our government. It's a democracy, and that means that the people actually have the power, because we get to decide who among us get to be the politicians. We get to vote. And if a politician starts doing things we don't like, we can just replace him with someone else at the next election.
So the people that get chosen to be politicians only get to boss people around and take their money for a short time, and then they go back to being regular humans?
Exactly.
That sounds like a powerful position to be in. But if you get to choose who does that, I assume that politicians are always the wisest, most honest, caring and respected people among you.
Well, no, not really. I wouldn't say politicians are known for being honest or wise. or caring. And they're certainly not the most respected people among us. Come to think of it, most politicians are lying, power-hungry crooks.
The ones you chose.
Yeah, they're always doing things we don't like. They use taxpayers' money to enrich themselves and their friends, and they never keep their promises to voters. They've been caught stealing and lying and taking bribes, and they mostly do what the big corporations want. Yeah, they're always doing stuff like that. They're completely corrupt. They're a bunch of lying crooks.
But you said that most humans know that stealing and beating each other up and killing are wrong. And you said that you have the power because you can change who's in charge. So why don't you just replace the lying, thieving, murderous, crooked politicians with some regular people?
Well, we don't try to elect lying crooks. It just always turns out that way. But we have to have a government because some humans are nasty and might kill or enslave or steal. Civilization just couldn't survive without government.
Let me get this straight. Because you're worried about the small number of nasty people that are willing to kill, enslave and steal, you think it's necessary for your survival to have a system where some humans among you, for a short while, get to call themselves the government, and they get to order everyone else around like slaves and, if they want, commit mass murder overseas, using money they stole using threats of violence. Politicians get to kill, enslave and steal, because if they didn't, someone else might. And you try to elect good, honest people to be politicians, but what happens every time is that the people you elect turn out to be corrupt, evil, lying crooks. That's your system.
Yeah, that's pretty much government.
India. Government. The group of people with the authority to govern a country or a state is known as government. Why do we need a government? The purpose of a government is to facilitate the smooth functioning of a country's affairs and bring about an order in the overall governance of the country. The government also works towards managing the country's resources in an ethical and responsible manner. Moreover, it also protects its people from potential danger, both external and internal. India is a country of vast population and has a democratic government. India is also the world's largest democracy. The Constitution of India came into effect on 26th January 1950. This day is celebrated as the Republic Day of India. India consists of 29 states, 6 union territories, and 1 national capital territory, Delhi. The country follows the constitution according to which the government functions.
Many functions. It protects the boundaries of the country and maintains peaceful relations with other countries. It governs the country according to the laws of the land. It builds the infrastructure of the country. It looks after the welfare of the people by providing education and health services. It maintains law and order, and it provides aid to people affected by natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, etc.
Levels of government. The government has to manage the whole country. Think of the size of our country. It's so very big, with so many people. One team cannot manage the whole country. We have to have different teams for towns, for states, and for the country. Even within teams, there are different groups to look after different things. These smaller teams look into more details and the bigger teams look at the big picture. Let's see what the different levels of government are. Central government. The team that works for the whole country overall is at the central level. They have to take decisions keeping the whole country in mind. So the biggest decisions and policies are all decided at central level. Here are examples of what the central government decides. How India will behave with other countries, what tax the people of India will pay, what national highways are needed, whether they should continue with 50 paise and 25 paise coins, what to do if there is an earthquake, how to manage the borders with so many different countries. State government. The country is divided into many states and each state has a separate government. The state government has to look at what the central government has decided and then keeping that in mind, decide details for their own state. Here are examples of what the state government decides. How to build roads and railways to connect major cities in the state, what textbooks to make for the students, what local festivals to celebrate. Local government. The state has districts, villages, towns and cities. Cities have lots of people, towns are smaller and villages are even smaller. The needs of each are different. Each has a different government to look after the details. This is called the local government. Here are examples of what the local government decides. Building parks, libraries, flyovers in the town. What statues to put up at various crossroads and names for streets. Collecting and disposing of trash. Think and discuss. What level of government would this decision be taken at? Central, state or local? Maintaining peaceful relations with Russia. Starting 2 more trains between Mumbai and Pune. Building a children's park and a walking track in an area. Building a well in the common area of a village. Changing the design on the 500 rupee note. Adding a new tax in the country. Give all the farmers in Maharashtra free seeds to grow their crops. Change the Maharashtra scholarship examination to standard 5 instead of 4.
So, these are the 3 levels of government. At the national level, we have the central government, and at the state level, we have the state government. We also have the third government at the local level, and it is called local self-government. It is in cities, towns and villages. So, I hope you have understood the meaning of government. Now you know what are the various functions of the government. See, the government has to work such a lot for us so that we can be safe and happy and we can just run our lives smoothly. So we have discussed the functions of government. So now you know the different levels of government, the different organs of government, and discussing the other things in our next video. For today, you have to just go through the topics that we have covered today from your book. Stay safe, stay home.